You have the legal right to delete your name, your email, and like your browsing history from almost any database on Earth.
Right, which is something we all kind of take for granted now.
Yeah, exactly. But you have absolutely zero legal right to delete a machine's hidden assumption that you are, say, a huge financial liability.
None at all. And that changes the entire paradigm of privacy, really. I mean, we spend all our energy guarding the front door, completely unaware that the real value is being extracted right through the floorboards.
It is wild. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring a truly eye-opening article today. It's titled Governing the Three Layers of Derived Intelligence.
Yeah, it's a fascinating piece.
It really is, and it's drawn from a larger, highly influential work called Digital Sovereignty in the Cognitive Age that was published by the blog Inspire Aspire.
Right. Highly recommend checking out the full piece if you get a chance.
For sure. So our mission today is to figure out how AI systems actually generate value across three distinct layers, and more importantly, to uncover why current global regulations basically leave the most consequential parts of our digital lives completely ungoverned.
Yeah, it's a massive blind spot.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this.
So to understand what we're missing in AI regulation, I mean, we really have to start by establishing what we are actually doing right. We need a baseline.
Right. What are we currently regulating?
Exactly. And the author identifies this very first layer as simply data. Just data.
Just the raw material, the stuff you and I knowingly type into a keyboard, right? Or like the permissions we grant when we download a new app on our phone.
Precisely. It's the visible input.
Let's use a tangible example to kind of track this through all three of the layers today. Say you buy a new smartwatch, right? You want to track your workout.
Okay, classic layer one scenario.
Yeah, so you create a profile, you put in your age, your height, your weight, and you actively click, I agree, to give the watch permission to track your heart rate and your GPS location. That right there is layer one.
That is the perfect through line to use. That information, your heart rate, your GPS coordinates, it's the data you knowingly provided to the system.
Right. I handed it over.
Exactly. And when it comes to global governance, humanity has actually built a fairly robust framework here. I mean, the source points out some major tangible successes globally.
Like GDPR, right.
Yeah, the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, is definitely the most famous example. It establishes very clear individual rights over personal data. Things like, consent, access to your data, the right to correct errors.
The right to delete the data entirely.
Right, the right to be forgotten, and also data portability.
Meaning I can, take my smartwatch data, download it, and just move it to a completely different competitor's fitness app.
Exactly the concept, yeah. Though, I mean, the actual implementation can vary a bit. But we see similar frameworks emerging all over the world, not just in Europe.
Right. The article mentioned a few others.
Yeah, China has the Personal Information Protection Law, which operates within a more sovereignty-first framework. The African Union recently advanced a continental AI strategy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and Brazil has developed a national AI plan, and India is, they're building out their own emerging frameworks as well. Across the globe, this first layer, this data layer, is heavily guarded.
I was thinking about this when reading the source, and it feels a lot like checking a coat at a nice restaurant.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you walk in, you hand over your coat. That coat is your layer one data, and the restaurant gives you a little ticket in exchange.
Right.
And because of laws like GDPR, you actually hold rights over that coat. You can ask to see it, just to make sure it's yours. You have the right to ask for the coat back when you leave. You hold the ticket so you feel secure.
The mechanics of that analogy mirror current data protection laws really well. You provided an asset, and you have documented rights regarding its storage and its return.
But reading this article, I mean, I have to push back on that feeling of security. Is this giving us all a massive false sense of security?
How do you mean?
Like, are regulators essentially just standing guard at the coat check, fiercely protecting our jackets while the entire rest of the restaurant is just burning down around us?
Yeah. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we realize that data is really just the foundation. It's not the factory.
Okay, explain that.
Well, the issue runs deeper than the restaurant burning down. The raw data you provide is almost useless to an AI system in isolation.
Really? Even all that health data?
Yeah, I mean, your smartwatch recording a heart rate of 110 beats per minute at 2.0 p.m. is just a number. It doesn't mean anything on its own. The real value, and honestly, the real danger, happens in the layers above it.
Where that raw data is analyzed.
Exactly. It's analyzed, it's stitched together, and it's transformed.
Which brings us to the transition from the data you knowingly give to the data the AI secretly creates about you.
Yes. Welcome to layer 2, which is inference.
The hidden judgments. We really need to explain how this actually works under the hood because from what I read, it isn't just a basic database matching some keywords.
Oh, far from it. It's
Mhm.
not a simple lookup table. An inference is the set of conclusions that an AI system draws about you.
Okay.
And to understand the mechanism, you really have to look at how AI maps information. It takes your raw layer 1 data, so let's stick with the smartwatch tracking your heart rate and your location.
Right, my code.
Your code, exactly.
Hmm.
It takes that data and it maps it into this massive high-dimensional vector space alongside the data of millions of other users.
Okay, wait. A vector space being essentially like a massive multidimensional mathematical map
Yeah, exactly.
where the AI is just looking for clusters of similar behavior.
That is the core of it, yeah.
Yeah.
The AI isn't applying human logic here. It is finding hidden, purely mathematical correlations.
What does that look like in practice, though?
Well, it might notice a statistical cluster connecting, say, late-night heart rate spikes, specific GPS location patterns, and a high propensity for job instability or loan default.
Whoa!
Right. So the system observes your watch data, maps it to that cluster, and generates a brand new piece of information about you out of thin air, a financial risk score.
So it is generating conclusions that I never, ever disclosed.
Never.
I mean, I bought a watch to track my miles, and the system is inferring my creditworthiness. That's insane.
Yeah.
And the examples in the source are genuinely chilling when you think about the scale of this.
Here we are.
Like, there was an example of a hiring recommendation system. It flags you as a bad culture fit before a human being ever even sees your resume. And it does this simply based on the cadence of your keystrokes during an online application.
Yeah, it's measuring hesitation, essentially. Or think about a fraud risk assessment that quietly flags your bank account for freezing. Or a diagnostic probability in a medical setting, an insurance denial.
Right, all these huge life events.
Exactly. The AI is looking at your raw data, comparing it to millions of others, and conjuring brand new, highly consequential information.
Let me pause here because if I am listening to this while driving or, making dinner, I want to make sure I am fully grasping the legal reality of this.
Sure.
Let's say I apply for a mortgage and an AI system denies me. Doesn't GDPR's right to explanation cover algorithmic decision-making? Like, if the AI denies my loan, don't they have to tell me why?
You naturally assume that, yeah. But the loophole here is vast. It's huge.
How so?
Well, the author cites this incredibly important research from 2019 by two legal scholars, Sandra Wachter and Brett Mittelstadt.
Okay.
And they documented what they termed the inference gap. They proved that existing Layer 1 data protection laws completely fail to adequately protect individuals against these high-risk inferences.
Here's where it gets really interesting. How does that gap actually function in practice?
Think about the rights you have under Layer 1. You have the right to access and correct your raw data.
Right. I can fix my address.
Exactly. But Wachter and Mittelstadt show that the right to correct your raw data does not grant you the right to correct the inferences generated from it.
Wait, really?
Really. Furthermore, the right to explanation often only applies to final, fully automated decisions. It frequently completely fails to cover the thousands of micro-inferences drawn along the way.
Or what if a human is in the loop?
Exactly. If a human is merely consulting the AI's output, it's often exempt.
Wow. So let me get this straight. If the system hallucinated a terrible credit score for me because of some obscure pattern, say, my smartwatch tracked me visiting a neighborhood that the AI mathematically associates with high default rates.
Which happens.
I can go into the app and correct my home address if they got it wrong. That's my layer 1 right.
Correct.
But I have absolutely zero legal right to see, contest, or correct the AI's hidden conclusion that I am a massive financial liability.
That summarizes the terrifying reality we are living in right now. The person affected has no means of even knowing an inference was reached in the first place.
That's so frustrating.
It is. You don't know why you didn't get the job interview. You don't know why your health insurance premium spiked. There is no right to see the math and no legal avenue to contest the machine's judgment.
It makes that whole coat check analogy look kind of ridiculous now.
Yeah, it breaks down pretty fast.
It is like you check your coat, and while you are eating your meal, the staff takes it, analyzes the fabric, compares it to thousands of other coats, mathematically determines you are a liability to the restaurant, and quietly cancels your reservation for the rest of your life.
That's a great way to put it.
And you cannot argue with them. But hey, You still get your coat back at the end of the night.
Right, your layer 1 rights are intact. It perfectly illustrates the key quote from the text, actually. The author says, "The inference gap is not a technological gap. It is a gap in governance."
Meaning we could fix it if we wanted to?
Exactly. We have the technical ability to trace how these algorithms weight their parameters and reach these inferences. We simply have not forced companies to govern them or disclose them.
Okay, so layer one is data, which is basically the illusion of control over our raw inputs. Layer two is inference, these hidden judgments affecting individuals in secret. But the author goes even deeper, zooming out from the individual person to the entire human population.
Right, because we have to look at how AI extracts value, not just to judge an individual like we were just talking about, but to make the underlying model fundamentally smarter over time.
Right.
And this brings us to layer 3, which is learning.
The invisible factory.
Exactly. The source refers to this as broad knowledge extraction. To really grasp the magnitude of this, we need to understand how large-scale machine learning models improve. They don't just, accumulate files in a database like an old-school server.
So what are they doing?
They continuously update their internal statistical weights based on every single interaction.
Can you give me a tangible example of how that extraction happens in real time, just so I can picture it?
Yeah, the source outlines several good ones. Imagine a clinician using a diagnostic AI tool in a hospital. The AI recommends a treatment plan, and the clinician manually corrects it based on their own human medical expertise.
Because the AI got it slightly wrong.
Right. Now, that simple correction doesn't just sit in a file somewhere. It acts as a direct training signal. It adjusts the model's parameters, teaching the AI to be slightly more accurate for the very next hospital that uses it.
Oh, wow. Okay, I see. Or like the example of a student using one of those adaptive educational platforms.
Yes, perfect example.
Like the student struggles with a specific algebra concept and has to rewind and watch the tutorial 3 times.
Exactly. The platform tracks that struggle. That behavioral data updates the system's learning pathways, which basically teaches the platform how to present the concept differently to the next million students.
It's just quietly learning from every single click.
Yeah. And consider the public health implications mentioned in the text. If 1 million people in a specific country start searching for guidance on a particular medical symptom, that aggregate pattern reveals something deeply profound about that population's health trends.
Right. It maps the spread of an illness in a way that, no traditional survey or public health infrastructure could ever replicate.
Never. The AI is vacuuming up the collective wisdom, struggles, and behaviors of humanity.
It's massive. I want to bring in the barista analogy the source uses here because I thought it beautifully contrasts human learning with machine learning.
Yeah, it anchors a very complex algorithmic concept in a familiar, everyday interaction.
Right. We have all had this experience. You go to the same local coffee shop every morning. Over a few months, this human barista learns your order. She learns your schedule.
She notices that you switch from regular coffee to decaf when you seem visibly stressed out.
Exactly. She remembers your name, and she remembers you have, a severe oat allergy.
Notice that none of this was disclosed in a formal Layer 1 document, by the way. You did not fill out a data intake form to get your morning latte.
Right. It was learned naturally, transaction by transaction, just by observing the pattern of your behavior over time. It is a nice, very human interaction. But the author asks us to take that scenario and replace the human barista with an AI system.
And instead of one customer, the system is learning from 1 million customers simultaneously.
Right. This raises an important question. How does the scale change the fundamental nature of that interaction?
The difference is monumental. I mean, the human barista doesn't instantly beam your oat milk preference and your stress-induced decaf habit to every other coffee shop in the world, right? She isn't instantaneously altering the global pricing algorithm for oats and decaf beans based on local stress levels.
No, she's just making coffee. But the AI does exactly that.
Exactly that. It updates its multi-billion parameter model in real time because each of those million customers thinks they are simply engaging in a basic transaction. They're buying coffee or tracking a run on their smartwatch.
But the AI system isn't just making coffee or tracking miles. It is building a comprehensive behavioral portrait of an entire community.
It maps out everything. It learns what a population consumes and when they consume it. It calculates how habits fluctuate with the seasons or how a specific zip code reacts to sudden economic pressures.
It creates a highly detailed map of price sensitivity from one neighborhood to the exact next neighborhood over.
Exactly. which introduces the concept of the dual exchange, because there are two completely different transactions happening simultaneously here.
Break that down for me.
So there's the visible exchange.
Mm.
The customer pays their money and they receive their coffee, or they buy the smartwatch and get their fitness tracking.
Right, this stuff I can see.
Yeah, that is the transaction the customer is aware of, and it is governed by standard consumer laws. But then there is the invisible exchange.
The extraction of intelligence.
Yes. The shop, or really the tech company, acquired broad systemic intelligence. And as the author points out, that derived intelligence, not the revenue from the coffee or the smartwatch, is now the company's most valuable asset.
Because they can sell it.
Exactly. They can sell that predictive model of community stress or neighborhood price sensitivity to hedge funds, to insurance companies, or to advertisers.
And the customers, the actual people whose daily struggles and habits generated that multi-million-dollar asset, have absolutely no idea this invisible exchange is even happening.
None.
They are providing the raw behavioral data that creates the value, but they have zero claim on the intelligence generated from their own lives.
The learning is extracted without recognition and without compensation. This accumulated understanding is arguably the most powerful output of the entire AI economy. I mean, it is the engine driving the cognitive age.
And currently, there is no governance framework on Earth that acknowledges it even exists, let alone regulates who owns it.
Right. It's completely unchecked.
Which brings us to the central challenge the author is posing for the future. Having diagnosed these three distinct layers, data, inference, and learning, and having exposed the massive gaping holes in our current regulatory systems, we arrive at a proposed paradigm shift.
Right. The author introduces an umbrella term to encompass all of this value creation.
Yeah.
Derived intelligence.
Derived intelligence.
Yeah, this single term represents the full spectrum of data, inference, and learning generated by human activity and processed through AI systems.
But the critical argument here is that to actually solve the governance problem, we cannot just treat derived intelligence as one big monolithic thing.
No, you cannot write one single piece of legislation to govern a code check, a secret algorithmic judgment panel, and a massive real-time behavioral extraction factory. If you try, the law will inevitably fail because the mechanisms of extraction are just way too different.
You have to govern them as distinct layers.
Yes. Each layer requires its own bespoke governance mechanisms. Layer 1 needs data protection, which we sort of have. Layer 2 needs accountability structures for algorithmic inferences, requiring companies to actually prove how they reached a conclusion.
Like opening up the black box.
Exactly. And Layer 3 requires entirely new principles of collective ownership and compensation for broad knowledge extraction. As the text elegantly puts it, current global governance addresses the raw material and completely ignores the factory.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? I want you to think about the physical mechanics of your day. Every single time you click a link, every time you search for a symptom late at night, every time you correct a typo that your phone's autocorrect got wrong, you are not just engaging in a simple digital utility.
You're really not.
You are providing unpaid labor to an invisible factory. Why should you care? Because the value of your behavior, your stress patterns, your specific habits is being extracted, bundled, and monetized at a massive scale. And right now, under current legal frameworks, you have absolutely zero ownership over the intelligence derived from your own life.
It is a sobering realization to look at a smart device and realize you are the raw material.
It really is.
But, the author does note that the structural framework to solve this exists. And subsequent articles in this series will explore specific proposed governance mechanisms for each individual layer.
Okay, good.
So a roadmap is being drawn. But the text leaves us with the ultimate tension of the cognitive age. Even if we perfectly map the framework, can we build and implement this governance at the speed the challenge demands?
Right, because technology and learning algorithms move exponentially, but democratic regulation moves glacially.
Exactly. It's moving so slowly.
It is quite literally a race against time. So let's trace the journey we have just taken today. We started by dismantling the false security of Layer 1 data governance, that comforting but flawed idea that holding the coat-checked ticket to your raw data somehow protects your entire digital identity.
Right.
Then we uncovered the hidden, life-altering dangers of Layer 2 inferences, where machines utilize these high-dimensional vector spaces to make closed-road judgments about your worthiness that you can neither see nor contest.
Very dystopian.
And finally, we zoomed out to layer 3 learning, exposing the massive invisible extraction of our collective human behavior, updating the global parameters of the AI economy.
It forces you to reevaluate the true cost of every quote-unquote free digital service you interact with.
It really does. And I want to leave you, the listener, with a final, somewhat unsettling thought to ponder that builds on the mechanics we've discussed today.
Oh boy.
We've talked about how our collective behavioral patterns are the ultimate invisible exchange powering this new era. Right now, in layer 3, the AI is largely a passive observer, like a barista, quietly watching when you order decaf, or a watch passively logging your heart rate.
This watching and learning.
But what happens when these AI systems stop just passively observing us? What happens when they're programmed to start deliberately manipulating our digital environments, subtly tweaking our news feeds, altering the emotional tone of the content we see, or changing our prices in real time, just to see how we react and extract richer, more volatile learning data?
Right.
If this learning layer remains completely ungoverned, are we moving from simply being the raw material to actively becoming the lab rats?
That is a chilling progression, honestly, and exactly the kind of critical question this three-layer framework forces society to ask before it's just way too late.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the layers of derived intelligence. Remember to stay curious, keep questioning the invisible systems operating around you, and tune in next time.